Hey everyone, welcome. I'm super excited because today we have with us Donovan Dreyer. Woohoo! I'm so excited because he is all about, first of all, knows everything there is to know about counseling and getting kids. I'm talking about counseling, educational counseling, also personal counseling and personal growth. He also is my personal coach for business, and I am super excited that he's sharing with us again because you guys love Donovan Dreyer. All of our podcast episodes with him are getting a lot of views and a lot of downloads, and I'm super excited about that because he has so much information on how to really get us. Remember, the Raising Leaders Roadmap is getting us from where we are to really raising lifelong learners and leaders. Well, Donovan is really that end point. He's really that, like, hey, how do we get that? How do we get from love of learning to now what do we do with our life sort of thing in a way that's passionate and a way that we are wanting to do whatever stirs our soul and make money at and make a living? I mean, because ultimately we got to do that eventually. We know that for our kids and we want that. So how do we get them to do that? And today we're talking about that point at which college is a key or not to getting us ready in homeschooling. So a lot of things I hear from parents is, I want my kids to be college ready. Whether they choose to go to college or not is up to them. Sometimes that can get in the way of our inspiring love of learning and the box checking that we do, because there has to be some level of box checking with getting us to that point. So I'm specifically talking about high school. But if our kids say they don't want to go to college, we don't care if they go to college, but in our back of our mind, we don't want to close that door. How do we do that? I mean, that's really do we want to close the door and get them to where their love of learning is really high and then they figure it out later? Or what do we do? So Donovan, can you please, before we get started, just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about like your background and like why you love helping these young adults so much?
Yeah, I mean, this is the long game. We were just chatting a little bit before we got started, and it's not like sometimes you get to see a tangible result. I do this and kids all better, or I do this and kids a leader, or learning for a lifetime or anything like that. I mean, this is the long game because I really do take that long view that we've got the next generation. They're the up and comers, and that's always the case. I think we should be putting these kids in a position as young as possible to take the reins when they get to that, to that age, when they're young adults, when they're adults. They can't just magically just get the ball and to, run with it. So we really do have to get them set up to be those lifelong learners. We're just also talking about me getting back into the schools after a 3-year hiatus from school counseling, just doing all business coaching and all young adult coaching for the past 3 years. And that's not just to earn, it's also for me to learn, even though I'm, at that age where I'm like a super senior in the schools at this point. But, just getting pulled back in, and I'm always asking, what's my next level of learning myself? I'm a lifelong learner, and I don't want to just earn. I want to go in there with an intention of pulling something out. And maybe it's just, I know I will by default, because you learn something every day in the school, is just saying. But yeah, so this would be my 21st year. So I had 20 years and then a 3-year gap. And then this is year 21 for the school counseling. And I've been homeschool counseling basically for a lot of years with my life coaching. So the life coaching is really on not just my favorite thing, but if we're really going to set kids up for the real world, they need soft skills in addition to all the subjects to be set up for life. They need those. And I like real skills better for the real world. Seth Godin calls these soft skills real skills, because like you say, when we just check the boxes and we automatically think we're going to college, we might be really shortchanging the real skills. And so my program, my Teen Takeoff program, really zeroes in about 7 of the biggest real skills. And then I've got the ability to really tailor when I'm working with students individually with their plans for the future, with their preparations, and also just helping them more smoothly navigate that, since I've seen 17 rounds of kids going through the high school graduation process. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And so I'm really excited to talk today about how we do invest in the kids to get them ready for college and get them ready for the world. And if they're not going to college, What do we do if they're out of the box and they're not, the box check and type, or they've checked all the boxes for high school? And then the question is, now what? And it's not college. So let's dive in.
Yeah, that's so awesome. You know what I love? Something that you said that hit home for me was when because I saw this so much in high school myself when I was a classroom teacher, is that kids are going through school, and even though they're getting all A's, they're in honors classes, they're whatever, they're missing a lot of skills that they're going to need for their life and for their future and success skills. So can you talk a little bit about what are some of those skills that these kids often miss when they're just box checking, trying to get the grades, trying to get into college?
Well, being an entrepreneurial person and also just, doing a lot of business coaching, I realized like a lot of the things that are there for the entrepreneur these days is just, at our age level, it's for an entrepreneur, it's for a business person. However, what I saw again and again and again is that in a rapidly changing world, a lot of the skills that I've been teaching as a business coach, they're needed for all kids, even if they're not going to be entrepreneurs, even if they're not going to be in business. So one of the things I talk about is having a vision. So we don't know where we're going, and we don't know if college is the right little blue path. If we have no idea where we're going, I can't get out my phone and say, hey, Siri, I want to go somewhere. Yeah, you just get on College Avenue and that's the answer. Go to College Avenue and then start there. Well, that's way the heck 20 minutes from here. I just came from College Avenue. And don't talk to me right now. She's like trying to answer. So 20 minutes from here, I wouldn't want to go 20 minutes west if I really need to go north, south, or east. But a lot of times we just, assume that's the answer. So having the vision is number one. Then we can start to put those objective little, checkpoints along the way with goals. And then number three for me is, who are you? I've got a system for figuring that out in a much better and less boring way than we do in the schools or anywhere else with the personality assessments and career assessments. And then how are you? I address that one with, where's your stress level? What are you supposed to do about that? And so there's a bunch of others. We can get to those later, but that's where it kicks off, is we got some of these really, really basic things, and we didn't have systems for these things. I know, because I had to invent them because they weren't there for me as a school counselor. And I needed them in order to serve the kids at a better and higher level than what I was seeing that I didn't get with my, preparation that really wasn't for this rapidly changing world. It's changed a lot since I graduated with my master's degree. So to keep up with the pace, new innovations had to be made. I made them. And so that's a part of what I do.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something I talk about all the time, is talking, you guys hear me all the time talking about your end goal, right? You have to have that end goal. So what is that? And as in traditional school, a lot of homeschool, we don't think about that. We don't think about what are the kids, what I did a whole episode on what stirs your soul, what's yours to do, do what's yours to do. And that is something that's not a conversation in most homes. That's not a conversation in most homeschools, is what's that thing? My son has always known that he wants to help animals, but he didn't know until he grew a bigger worldview. And it's a conversation that we always have about, like, so there's something that you're supposed to do in this world, some problem that you're supposed to solve that only you can do with your talents and your gifts and your special, unique, skill sets. And so he knows now it's actually on a bigger scale. It's not just that he wants to save, have sanctuaries, and he wants to be able to have people live with animals in a way that we can have a mind around what's around us and living together with that, which is really amazing. And then that includes technology that he's learning about and stuff too. So it's really a conversation that a lot of people don't have. And I feel like a lot of parents are just scared that what if we don't actually have our kids want to go to college, or they need to go to college, and, well, mom, you didn't prepare me for college, that kind of thing. So Donovan, what happens if we do that? What happens if our kids aren't college ready? Their transcript isn't necessarily super college ready, and they they didn't want to go to college this whole time, and we don't really care either way, as long as they're doing what they're productive in the world and they're happy. And what do we do? What's then?
Well, I guess that's where we circle back to the box checking. And I think when I look at high school and what's required, and going through all those requirements over the years, by default, you're pretty much college ready at the high schools I've worked at. Like, it's like a given. Like, if you change your mind, well, if you wanted to go to college and you change your mind, the whole world's open to you. Nothing happened K through 12 that shut that door. However, that might be up for debate. We can circle back to that. If we get too rigidly box checking and we change our mind from not wanting to go to college, we might have a problem in there. But we definitely have a problem if we decide 11th, 12th grade, I want to go to college, and K through 12 was not done in order to create at least the transcript for that purpose, if not the student for that purpose. So that's kind of almost by default. So when you do check all the boxes to get the college readiness, and the college has X amount of math, science, English, social studies, and foreign language in there that they require, you should be good to go for those colleges that your son or daughter is meeting those requirements for. And the other option is to go to community college. And if there's any holes in there, then typically what kids will do is spend a semester or a year filling in any of those holes. If they're like, this career absolutely has the blue path or the major that is a college track, so I've got to get that in place. So any of those shortcomings, any needs for remedial updating of English or math or whatever, that can be done after graduation. So kids might get through K through 12 with the homeschooling or without the homeschooling, and they might still need some extra brushing up on some subjects, and that can be done more expensively in a four-year school, but more economically at a community college.
Absolutely. Yeah. Community colleges are so great like that. And that, first of all, saves everybody a lot of money. And then also, I love how you mentioned that, yeah, if it's something that they want to do for the path that they want to take, right? So if college is necessary, like you were talking about with the Siri, if I have to go, if what I need doesn't require a college degree, then maybe I don't need that. And so that's something that we have to have those conversations about. But something I love that you talked about, and a little caveat I want to say in this entire conversation, is that it is possible to have the transcript you need to have for quote unquote college readiness without doing so much box checking. So it is possible to do that. And if you want to know how to do that, contact Donovan, contact me. We'll help you figure that out. And but something that you mentioned there, as far as what happens if oh gosh, what was it when you were saying we can circle back, because I really love that. What happens if we do all the box checking and then we're actually getting out in the world and it's only focused on box checking? What are we missing there?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about this all the time. I think this is your whole big idea around the issues with just, toeing the line, staying in the line, following the status quo, and checking all the boxes. The problem is if you've gotten totally geared for college, a lot of time, what I've seen is the kids are just loaded with stress. If they just don't fit, I've had kids, they just can't handle the stress of being forced to check boxes that they absolutely hate. And they know they're gifted in another area or a few different areas. There's talents and gifts for these kids that really can't do it. So now you're loading yourself with stress, and kids can't handle that for years and years and years. That's a sad tragedy. But if you now look at, well, if you circle back and you want to do something in this world that doesn't require that box checking, but you've become this person that's just used to that, you kind of get stuck in settling. You've got this freedom to do so many things in this world, especially here in America, but you end up lowering your expectations, lowering your potential, not tapping your talents, not tapping your passions, and you end up settling for something that does not fit. Now you can go from school with all that stress to a whole lifetime of stress. And I don't know, it's not lasting either. People fall into addictions at the very least, or worse, if they force themselves into these boxes that do not fit them. And then it could be very, very difficult to get out of that mode and say, you know what, I want to pursue something that's not going to require that college degree, not going to require the traditional path. Good luck. And not to just say that, in a rude kind of sad way, but it's like, that's where now you're going to need that much more support. When I think about coaching you or any other clients I've ever coached, there's just this, it's like a secret weapon to have support to help you speed up, accelerate, and actually embrace the thing that maybe nobody else is letting you embrace. So you've got to put somebody in your corner to help you, even if you are, I think, towing the line and trying to stay in the box. Because like I said, I think a lot of these marketing elements are going to be very, very important no matter what job a kid picks or what career or what passion. You're going to be able to you're going to have to be able to put that out and present it to the world in a way that helps you be seen for what you're gifted at, and then really be attractive and maybe generate tons of opportunity.
Yeah, I see this all the time with with parents that I work with and parents I talk to every day, and it's that trying to get out of that educational should, and that box checking mentality is so hard for us. So think about if we have that for our kids and we're sending them out into the world that way, and then we have trouble. Like, I love what you're talking about with the long term, really looking at the long term picture, because I often ask parents, what does it look like when they're 18, right? But we want to think about a little longer. Like, are we really setting them up for having the soft skills, like you were talking about, the ingenuity, the creativity, that kind of stuff exists outside of box checking? And I know there's one teenager that's at my son's dojo, and I absolutely love her. She's a junior, and she's taking two or three IB classes. If you don't know what IB is, it's an international baccalaureate, and it's an international, basically, AP program. So they not only have like AP level kind of coursework, it's actually more than that. And they have to do presentations, videos, they have to do all this extra stuff. And it's very prestigious. However, the stress level, and when you were talking about stress, it totally reminded me, this girl's so stressed out. And I'm like, what are you going to be doing? Like, are you going to need this for your life? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, what college are you going to go to? She's like, I don't know. I haven't even started looking. And I was like, why are you doing these classes and killing yourself? Because a lot of these classes are even harder than college level classes. They're so difficult. And it's so crazy to put that stress on them and not even have, I mean, I'm half Chinese, so I come from that Asian culture where it's like you excellence all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And you're constantly just pushing that, but it's so stressful. My cousin, when she went to college, her freshman year, she weighed 97 pounds because she was so stressed out. And so it's really something to think about. I love that you mentioned that stress, because it's something we don't talk about a lot, because we feel the stress, right? As parents, yeah. We feel that stress of like, oh my gosh, what if they're not ready? So tell me a little bit about, as we, kind of wrap up here, what do we need to do now? What if we're a middle school parent? What can we do now to help facilitate those soft skills and really think about the long term?
Yeah, just like touching on the stress for a second, my middle daughter, Lucy, she's and like all the things that we did to try and get it right with that end destination, she's going to change her major. She's going to go to a different college. So, and that's okay, because what we did is we could have pushed back against that and really pushed for her to keep going or whatever. But to me, if we compress time on these major decisions and make them with good discernment, then we're good. And so we can't avoid that we're going to have our mind change, and that's just life. And then she, of my three daughters, is the one that actually self-imposes pressure and stress. So the other thing besides box checking that leads to this is that quantity is put over quality. We just think if I can do hard things and lots of it, then that's quality. Not so much. Now, I couldn't switch that off because it's self-imposed with Lucy. But what I really needed to do is stay super dialed in as a parent. And I did a post about this the other day, is you need to be dialed into that self-care or the other care. You're the parent providing the care, so picking up lunch from Honolulu Poke on a weekend when she's like hammering away at the homework, that's being proactive to stay tuned into. Some of these kids could self-impose that stress to the point of self-sabotage. So that was kind of like one of those secret weapon things I actually had as a dad too, that I really, really needed, because I've seen these kids like you're talking about in the IB program and the AP classes for years and years and years. And the parents like, I didn't do it, man. I'm not making them. It's not me. I'm not one of those parents. They just are like that. And they're right. Every year there's student after student that just has that approach. So real skills back in middle school. I've had these conversations before my kids were 10. And I didn't have them to say, let's get it right. And oh no, it's changed major time. I can't believe it. I should have started talking to her at 2. No, we are going to have life pan out how it pans out. It's a process. But the things we can talk about is maybe the lifestyle elements. Besides just, what's your passion or career, you could talk about these kind of things like, what would you want it to be like? What kind of house? What state would you like to in? Why? So just the whole scope of the picture of what it's like as they imagine growing up. Maybe what do you want to do before you grow up is a really good question, because this really led to, I didn't help the valedictorian that I was coaching become a valedictorian. Lucy also was runner-up to valedictorian, my daughter, not because I could help her out with any of her classes, because they're harder not only than college classes, they're harder than anything I could do right now. So anyway, it was the community service, zeroing into something that really fit for community service to pad that resume that was already perfect without my help, and on the grades side, and that led to a full ride scholarship. So if they tap a passion around animals, there was one kid that they referred to as Bat Boy, because he loved bats so much, and he got a full ride scholarship because they give away 40 of those every year in Colorado. It's called the Betcher, and they just couldn't get that out of their brain. So that's the marketing thing that you can even use now. And so who are you? Go explore it and express it and show it in some kind of a portfolio, like Instagram. My oldest daughter has used Instagram to watch her abilities grow with her makeup career. So all of these conversations can center around that long-term picture and using your imagination, and then circling back to what you want to try out or experiment with, or what you love right now. And maybe you cross something off the list, and that's okay too. If you don't pursue something for years and years and years, try stuff out, and maybe it's you, maybe it's not. Try it on for size and toss it out at 10 or 12 or 14 or 16, whenever you find this is not a fit for me.
I love that. And it's so important to keep having that conversation, and that just becomes part of your culture. And that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. And I talk about with my with the clients that I work with. It's really helping them put together that culture. So and something that you said really reminded me of these parents that that they often have that. And I wonder what your take is on it, coming from just working with a lot of kids, is that some kids are that I have to push myself and do that. And I see some of it come from, sometimes I would say even a majority of the time, come from, that's where their accolades comes from. That's where they get a sense of self-worth, a sense of self-confidence. That's something they're good at, is checking those boxes. And so they feel like that's where, I'm just going to dig into that. And it can often be, like you said, often be very stressful to them later, even as younger age. I have a client right now that one of our members, she has her oldest son is like that. And he is very much like, oh my gosh, we can't go on a field trip every single Friday. What are you talking about? That would be crazy. Like, we can't do that. And he's not even in high school yet. And so thinking about, and he actually, when he doesn't check those boxes, he feels lost, like he doesn't know what to do. And so giving him other outlets to where he's getting those different accolades from, I find is really helpful. What is your take on that? Do you feel like there are other places where kids can get those things from, rather than, just honing in? Not to say that some box checking isn't okay. It's totally fine, but to their detriment. So is there some finding other places? Is that something that they can do, or is it just we just dig in?
Well, I think this is like an incredibly deep conversation that I would probably pull back from on this one, where if you really kind of like you do, what stirs your soul? I love digging in to find those needles in the haystack of the soul, and like plucking those out. And it's different per individual kid, but that's what I become a master of, is really zeroing in on what's one talent, if not 2 or 3 or 4. But, if we can zero in on one gift, one talent, one piece of experience that's already been developed and is maybe a gift to the world and super valuable already, that's really fun. And that's super individual. And that's just that's a genius level skill I've developed. I would also say, though, I was super shocked that the valedictorian kid wanted self-confidence. And it's like, you're checking all the boxes. You're never skipping any boxes. You'd never skip a box in a million years to have that feeling of like, I'm not checking a box. They're all good. You're crushing it, and you're crushing it athletically, and you're crushing it with sporadic community service, there wasn't a focus yet. And for her, I think when we're the jack of all trades person and we can check every box and get an A+, the big problem in that is overwhelming amounts of opportunity, it seems like. And so I think what happened and clicked for her around the self-confidence is, number one, she was going to do something in community service by herself. And the game changed for her when she teamed up with somebody that was interested in something similar, another student. So they did some really powerful things within the school. And that kind of fed her soul more. And I don't know if it was just confidence. I think it's just like really feeding the soul at a level that, when you're good at everything, like the confidence is still not there. What is that? It might not be confidence, but that, like I say, is a pretty deep conversation to see like, well, what is that?
Right.
So we get these things that come from the outside. It doesn't matter what they are. They don't really have a lasting impact. So we make these impacts right now. We make these big splashes. We get these awards, but things that have a lasting impact, maybe for generations, those are the kind of things that are intrinsic, they're deep. And when we start to tap into those, I think we get something even bigger than self-confidence. So
I 100% agree. Yeah, 100% agree. And I love that you said that, because that's what I was thinking too, is that you can check all these boxes and you can feel really good about the boxes that you check and have accolades there. But then you're missing the part where, what do I do in the world? Like, what is that thing for me, and what stirs your soul? And that's something that's fulfilling. And then, and with or without box checking, if you have that, that's going to really be something that can carry you on. I love that conversation. That's so beautiful. And is something that our kids can definitely start to tap into as they start to think about those sort of things. And it's a conversation that we have. So in wrapping up here, I'd love to just get, just what's your lasting thoughts? If you could just share with someone that was a parent that was like, man, I got to make sure that my kid is college ready. What would you say to that?
Well, I would say on my website, there's the Dare to Dream document. So it has the 6 lifestyle questions. Just start asking the questions. Like you say, this is an ongoing question, ongoing conversation. These 6 questions can be asked age 8, 10, 12, 15, whatever age. And we don't really want to overwhelm kids. I didn't make a document with thousands of pages or even 20 pages. It's like 6 questions, but they cover these big rock aspects of life that are both career, but they're the lifestyle pieces. So, if you're worried about being college ready, then there's at the public high school, the difference between what's college ready and graduate for high school, it's minor differences, very slight differences. So if you kind of stick to the boxes that need to be checked, you're good to go, and your kid will be good to go, basically. And then a lot of kids do come out needing either remedial writing or remedial reading or remedial math classes in college. And so the way to beat that is just to, make sure there's not some areas that, just because it's a weakness, you just ignore that completely and just say, okay, I'm going to zero in on their skills only, their passions only. So that's kind of I think a line that could be crossed if you're not really feeling like, as a parent, you've got it all figured out or you're well-rounded to be able to cover all those subjects. And maybe you need some help on the weaknesses too. So if those need to be shored up and you want to avoid having some of those classes that they're not literally ready for, and then don't worry about it. We can just do the remedial thing. If we didn't make it on time, there's nothing wrong with that. Many people, never have the ability to do something like go to college in America. And many people never need to, and they do fine in the world. And then, some of that college readiness stuff, it's kind of like real world ready too, because there's some basic things. It would be really nice if those silly reporters would go around and not make people look silly, because people actually had some common sense and they knew all the things that are kind of baseline. I think don't worry about it, but then, obviously don't just ignore some of the big things that need to be figured out too.
Agreed. Yeah, I was one of those people that actually I took pre-calc all the way through high school and everything. And then I was only going to go to pre-calc, but then I went to college and still had to take a remedial math class because I didn't test well. So that was one of the things that if you're, and something that I always say is that if the love of learning is high, then I almost, like Donovan was saying, we don't keep it just out of, some boxes I get, but we have to, if the love of learning is high, the gaps they'll fill in themselves when they need to. So they'll fill those things in. And so, yeah, let's take the stress off of that and just keep it in the back of our minds and kind of just, see those boxes there. And, we can keep a track of them, but we don't necessarily have to freak out about it and go all the way to the other end. There is a balance there for sure. Donovan, we're going to make sure that your link to your, the questions and that checklist that you have there is in the show notes. It's going to be on YouTube and it's also going to be in the Facebook group. So make sure you guys take that and really ask those questions, because sometimes we're like, well, what do we ask, right? Well, that's a perfect way that we can just keep those in our mind as a constant conversation. You don't have to sit them down and be like, okay, what's the answer to everything in your life, right?
Don't do it. Don't do it. 6 is too many at once, even just 6.
Right, exactly.
1 or 2 over dinner.
You're going to get the like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
God, that teenagery look that we all hate. But so something that you want to definitely just take one at a time and start thinking about it yourself. Because remember, you got to think about it too, right? So you're the example. And so make sure you do that and make sure you download it and keep it somewhere, that you're going to see over and over again, not at the bottom of your stack of papers. So that is something that I want you guys to do right away and just keep that conversation going. And definitely get in touch with Donovan. His website, getreadycoaching.com, is something I want you to go to and schedule a call with him. He loves to chat with whoever, and it's something that I think is very underrated. I'm going to start saying this a lot more. People often have a lot of anxiety when getting on a call with somebody, but it's really, we just want to find out about you and we just want to find out where you are, where you want to go. That's those kinds of things, and we're always open to giving you definitely a start on that path wherever you're headed. So take advantage of that. Take some time out. It's always good, as well as Donovan said, to have a helping hand. So, yeah, all right, you guys.
Is open too. They can just message me and say, let's set up one of those calls. Like, that's a total casual thing.
Yeah. So yeah, just message on Facebook or Instagram and just get in there and have that conversation, because we can always start the conversation there too. So, all right, you guys, we will see you again next week. And I'm so excited. We had a good talk today.
Thank you,
Hope
Cam.
you guys got a lot out of it. Thanks, Donovan.